Your favourite MMO probably launched many years ago. In fact, many of them are doing very well at the moment. Guild Wars 2 just launched an expansion, which has already confirmed a follow-up. RuneScape is continuing on as ever. World of Warcraft might not be as popular, but it's still huge. Final Fantasy XIV's doing well, and Lost Ark's Western launch has been a success. So you might say, but hold on there is so much choice between different MMOs now. The genre is doing well, it's popping off. There are more options than there has been in a very long time. Do you want to know something else? Lost Ark released in 2019 in a different region and pretty much had nearly 3 years of beta testing by millions of people. Every single other MMO I just went over initially released over a decade ago. For every success we see now, there are so many games that just never get off the ground or that do enough to keep going but never really get to the point where they attract huge volumes of players. Today I wanted to cover a number of points in the ways which MMO design has changed, and despite things that were popular in the past, they haven't really kept on with trends of the time and are gradually being faded out. Let me start with this. In the early days of MMOs, pretty much everything was PvP focused. Ultima Online, Dark Age of Camelot, Guild Wars, Lineage, even the likes of RuneScape and WoW fit in this. You know that deep-rooted sense that if you aren't playing on a PvP server that happened back at the start of Classic, you aren't actually playing on a proper server? Then people found out what Classic PvP meant and started to leave or quit. But why was PvP so popular back then? Well, because online plus PvP was a new experience. If you wanted to kill dragons or have an adventure, single-player games were already doing this with Resident Evil, Half-Life, Fallout, Zelda, and so many others. PvE content was a sideshow to farm and prepare for the PvP. This has now pretty much completely flipped, if you can even take it that far. Many developers to this day keep pushing PvP as a key part of their MMO, and it just never seems to pan out or justify the investment put into it. When I started MMOs, literally all I did was the PvP content. I had zero interest in going to kill dragons, questing, gathering, completionism, or anything else like that. All I wanted to do was to poon some noobs. I had about half a dozen different account builds across various characters on RuneScape for PKing. Logging in right now, the places where everybody used to be are all but dead. I did manage to find a few people when logging into the free-to-play worlds, funnily enough, and a few more around the Grand Exchange, but compared to what it once was, it's not even remotely close. I love the PvP scene back then, and it was a lot of fun. These days, I know it's not for me anymore. I tried it when old school RuneScape re-released, and I realized its problems. People could still be there at the same old school PvP spots. There is nothing stopping them from doing that, but it's the same reason your favorite PvP experience from Dark Age of Camelot or Ultima or whatever it may be has never been replicated in another game. It's the same reason World of Warcraft PvP montages get very little attention these days when they used to rack up hundreds of thousands of views on Warcraft movies. PvP and MMOs just has a hard time making sense. PvPers are like wild animals. If you let them loose, they'll run free in open world PvP where anything goes, and they're gonna crap everywhere, they're gonna tear up the carpet, rip off the curtains, and just generally make a very big mess of everything. And in a very short space of time, it will boil down to who has the greater number of people, the best gear, or the most beneficial unemployment benefits, often with attempts to grief and or just waste of a player's time in between. This is only fun for a few at the cost of many. So what do you do in real life when you have these wild animals running about everywhere? You put them in a cage, and that's what you do to PvPs and MMOs. You instance the player base into arenas, battlegrounds, skirmishes, whatever you want to call them. You separate them from the rest of the players, balance the game differently, and ensure it's an even number of players fighting against one another. That's not very massively multiplayer though, is it? If I wanted a game with all the MMORPG aspects removed and just to be instanced on similar grounds at the start of every game, I'll play a game designed just for PvP, like a MOBA or a FPS or a Battle Royale or whatever else. A game, essentially, where they aren't trying to cater to several different audiences at once. And I think this is what a lot of people have done. Among the number of people showing on Warcraft logs per week compared to arenas for the Burning Crusade Classic, it's somewhere in the region of 10 to 1. Lost Ark recently put out a tweet regarding PvP for their first arena season, to which 60% of the players straight up gave it a nope. Surely though it's just PvP in those games, not across the whole genre, because there are some standout PvP games, as far as I know, like EVE or Albion still, and yes, you can have fun in PvP, I'm not trying to take that away from you, but do you remember what happened in New World? It was supposed to be this risk and reward full loot open world PvP experience. Alpha rolls around and naturally some people quickly outpace and outgear others, and then they waddle their collective 2-digit IQ to the starter zones and begin ganking fresh characters. Amazon takes one look and thinks, gee, well this isn't gonna work, and 180s the whole project about 1 year from launch. launch, disaster ensues. The whole open world PvP fiasco is a concern I have for Ashes of Creation down the line in the future as well. I know they're going to try and mitigate it through a system called corruption, but I worry that the power of the Giga Neat is just too strong. Anyways, the point is, if you want to make something with a PvP focus, MMOs are a pretty tough sell these days. But if you did want something, for example, with aesthetics, collectibles, exploration, customization, I think they are a sure win. This is where we have to talk about anime. Yes, it's popular, very popular in fact. It's grown in the West massively, and to cut it short, has risen to become a far more normal thing alongside the increased popularity in gaming as a whole, which is good. There should be no stigma in harmless entertainment. Adding aesthetics similar or in the style of anime to your game is like using a real-life cheat code to get people to play. Having just good-looking characters is a start, but you can go further than that. In fact, if you can shoehorn it into your game, you probably should. Example, back in my day, I played League of Legends. I know, we all make mistakes. And then there were champions like Trundle. He still exists, he got changed. At that point in time, he was literally some goblin-looking dude would run around in a dump and had an ability where he called a very large and filthy pillar from the ground. Now for League of Legends, we have a literal anime series called Arcane, Battle Academia skins inspired from My Hero Academia, Star Guardian skins, which, quoting, Star Guardian is a series of parallel universe skins in League of Legends following the story of a group of high school students who chose to become cosmic protectors and must battle cosmic entities threatening the universe. Surely that's some kind of anime plot. To top it all off, they have a virtual K-pop girl group, KDA. Look, I'm not even mad, but anime sells. It just works because it's got an enormous fandom and it's good to look at. VTubers on Twitch or YouTube are another example. They've seen a massive increase to popularity over the past year too, giving, more often than not, women broadcasters a platform where they can create through an active avatar that they put together, and many people are perfectly happy to interact with this over what would have previously been a choice of no cam or real person. And what appearance the vast majority of VTubers choose to take, very often anime inspired. So MMOs, well, pretty similar story actually. World of Warcraft has updated their models in Shadowlands. They aren't quite there yet. I'm not suggesting Shadowlands looks anime-esque. I also think attractive characters have considerably higher appeal across both men and women. I'd be willing to bet Final Fantasy XIV has a much higher percentage proportion of women gamers compared to men than, say, World of Warcraft does. You know how there's a phrase, Korean MMO, and people attribute certain characteristics to that, and there's nothing similar for Western MMO? Anime is just part of the package that goes into Korean. Okay, one more point. Yes, the video hasn't had the most direction to it, I'm just going to keep going. Money. MMOs cost money to make, but they don't stop after release. They have to keep creating updates, patches, balance, and so on. So they need to make money, more than from just the launch as well. So therein we have a few options. We have buy to play. New World, for example. Pay once, you have the game forever. Great. A sub fee, such as Old School RuneScape, pay once per month, you can access all of the game's features. All of the above, World of Warcraft retail. Free to play, Lost Ark, in-game shops being from cosmetics, upgrades or tokens. It's the game selling you something which you will find value in. And how you decide to monetize and allow access to your content in the game is something which can have a large impact. Out of every game I just went over, New World had by far the best monetization policy. Buy the game one time, in-game shop with cosmetics only. That is it. But it's not much of a selling point, is it? Our game has good integrity when it comes to what it wants to sell you. Yeah, but how's it play? What use would a car be that produces 0 emissions if you can only go for 10 miles before it needs to recharge for 24 hours? It's more than just having a good sense of honesty in what you will sell though. It's about actually getting people to try the thing that you have made. How many people are subbing to more than one MMO per month? If you're paying for something, surely you want it to be the focus of your attention over other games. How can you compete for new, younger audiences when there is a massive range of free-to-play games now that are all really high quality? Moreover, many of these free-to-play games are now the PvP ones as well, like Fortnite, Apex, CSGO or League, to name a few. By the time you've made a character in an MMO, you're already in one of these games doing stuff. And honestly, it's hard to care about pay to win anywhere near as much as I used to. People say things, but then they do another, and it's the actions that count when it really comes down to it. And people are not walking away from a game due to its monetization, that's for sure. But free-to-play has always had such a low barrier to entry that I think eventually it will become more commonplace in MMOs. And where else are they going to get the money they need to continue developing other than a cash shop? They certainly aren't going to change or ring in their practices anytime soon if they've proven to work, I can tell you that much. Of course, there are so many other things that go into this discussion. It's a big one, but those are some I wanted to talk about today. Let me know your thoughts on everything I've gone over here. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I shall see you all in the next one very soon.